Wrestling fans, now you too can look as cool as Monty and the Pharaoh by wearing the official Monty and the Pharaoh sunglasses at night for $8.99 each. That's only $8.99 each. Now available at montyandthepharaoh.com. We know what you're thinking. Did they fire off 6 fascinating points of interest or only 5? Well, to tell you the truth, in all the excitement of watching and listening to Long Island's #1 wrestling podcast, I've actually forgotten myself. But being this is the Monty and the Pharaoh from Indie Music Studios in Ronkonkoma, and the fact that they were talking to yet another champion wrestling star, one of the most powerful and talented performers from the wrestling franchise, and not to forget, well-informed and provocative interview questions asked and answered. It was such an interesting and entertaining hour, the questions nearly blew your head clean off. Now you've got to ask yourself a question. Do I feel lucky? Do ya, punk?
What? Yeah. No, I'm behaving myself. No, I'm not playing in abandoned buildings. What? Again? Now, I suppose you had those people follow me again. Fine. Hey, this is Jimmy Pharaoh from Monty and the Pharaoh, and I want to thank all our subscribers. We have now passed 14,000 on our YouTube channel. But I want to ask our subscribers to take the next step for us and become a full-fledged member of Monty and the Pharaoh. Yeah, that's right, folks. There's 3 different levels to choose from. There's free shirts. There's free autographs. Just check it out and become a member of Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monty and the Pharaoh. Later.
Okay, folks, it's your buddy Mike Messier, Monty and the Pharaoh YouTube channel. We're talking AEW Apologist Report, Halloween season 2021. What do I have to apologize for this week? Probably the thing that would piss me off the most if I wasn't me doing these AEW Apologist Reports. If I was on the other side of the coin, I'd probably be attacking the Inner Elite, Adam Cole, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks dressing up as Ghostbusters. I don't know if there was any type of promotional payment for that in this 8-man tag team match against the Dark Order, who kind of had a variety of Halloween outfits. And then if you saw, the match ended with Adam Page as the Stay Puft Marshmallow Guy attacking the Elite and beating up. Seems like Matt Jackson's always the one to take the big bump at the end, and they kind of protect Adam Cole and Kenny Omega. And this is all leading towards the big Full Gear pay-per-view, Saturday, November 13th, and it's Kenny Omega versus Adam Page, a match that's been pushed back because Adam Page's wife was having a child, and I kind of took issue with Adam Page taking time off, to be honest with you. I think with the light schedule that these guys have, he could have been there for his wife and his newborn child and still kept his wrestling obligations. They kind of filled time with Christian Cage, challenging Omega a few times. Christian got the Impact title. We all know what happened. And they put in the Bryan Danielson match with Omega at that big tennis stadium show. So the point is, he's back, the Hangman's back, and now they're kind of putting him right in the main event picture. And when I saw this, I really just thought about, if you look where these guys learning from, you can take any type of wrestling show, and if you subtract 10 or 20 years, you can see the influence that this was clearly, in the mold of DX, in the mold of DX, Road Dogg, Billy Gunn, Triple H, Chyna, X-Pac dressing up in battle fatigues and attacking Nitro. You know, if you go back that far. And you might say, well, it wasn't as cool, it wasn't as good. It probably wasn't as cool and it wasn't as good, but I'm just giving you the influences, you know. The influence of DX doing something like that, or even DX when they did the Nation of Domination, mockery, and that stuff of the Attitude Era. Well, 20 years later, you're seeing the millennial or the post-millennial version of those things. So those are the influences. So if you're sitting here saying how great the Attitude Era was, which I often do too, but you're pissing on the current wrestling, you know, that's going on, well, that's who was influenced. You know, what else can I say? A lot of the wrestlers today, in my book, unfortunately, were kind of influenced by Shawn Michaels quite a bit, including these elite guys. I mean, they all do the little hand signal and all that crap. But, you know, on the positive side, basically, this was what they were trying to do, and I don't know if it was successful. I mean, I would say it might be to some extent, and it's all about how old you are when you're watching this stuff. But Hangman Page in the marshmallow outfit is basically their attempt at Stone Cold with the beer truck or Kurt Angle with the milk truck. Is it as great as that? Is it as successful? Well, if you ask me or if you ask Monty and the Pharaoh, probably we'd all say no. But if you ask some 12-year-old kid, hey, was Adam Page in the marshmallow outfit as good as Stone Cold Steve Austin in the beer truck, they'd probably say yes, of course it was, because they weren't around for Stone Cold Steve Austin in the beer truck. So it's just like music. You know, if you're talking to someone who grew up in a certain era and they're talking about how great Jimi Hendrix was or how great you know, the Rolling Stones were or how great Chuck Berry was, and then you say, well, you know, what about Adele? What about Korn? What about this? They're not going to have the same answers. It's generational. That's the thing with culture, whether it's pop culture or any type of culture, it's a generational thing. You know, a couple of years ago, I was in a Dunkin' Donuts in New England, in Connecticut, of all places. I was wearing some type of wrestling t-shirt, and just some regular average guy walked by me, made note of the t-shirt. He said something about wrestling. I said something to him, and he said, "Yo, you like wrestling?" I used to like wrestling. I said, "Yeah." I said, "I like wrestling, not as much as I did, you know, when I was younger." And the guy just said, a regular matter-of-fact guy just said, "Well, today's wrestling isn't made for us." And he's right. You know, I mean, we're out of the demo, or we're getting close to being out of the demo. So the fact that we're still watching this wrestling says more about us, the aging wrestling fans, you know, holding on to our Bob Backlund, you know, tapes and so forth. It says more about us than it does about the wrestling that we're still watching. And I'm not trying to piss on us, but I mean, if you've seen the Saturday Night Live, I've been watching a lot of Saturday Night Live clips lately. And if you ever seen that skit where they're doing a commercial for Star Wars action figures and they show all the 9 and 10-year-old boys playing the Star Wars action figures, and then they introduce a bunch of 35-year-old guys holding on to the action figures, keeping them in boxes and saying, well, it's also fun to just hold the box. And the guys say something like, you know, I bought three Star Wars action figures. Some talking going on. I bought 3 action figures. I bought, you know, one to take out of the box, one to keep in the box, and one just in case. You know, if that's, look up the Saturday Night Live Star Wars action figures skit or whatever the fuck. My point is, I have to watch the wrestling now, and just, if you say AEW Apologist, it's because I know that it's not as good as, say, Jim Crockett Promotions 1986. I know it's not as good as Mid-South Wrestling 1985, World Class 1983. I know it's not as good as that stuff. It's not even as good as WWE ECW 2006. Some of that stuff was pretty good. It had potential anyway. So we can, you know, as fucking Cody Rhodes made a comment, you know, he made a comment on Jim Cornette, you know, old manager yelling at the clouds. We can yell at the clouds if we want, but at some point we have to be inner reflective and realize that we are part of the problem too. You know, or that's just the way it is. Some things will never change. Bruce Hornsby in the range. You know what I'm saying? What's next? Now, I do want to say this. There's something going on in AEW that I think is great. a positive spin on this wrestling stuff these days. These folks are just talking very loudly. There's something going on these days in AEW that I'm very happy about, and that is Bryan Danielson. I mean, I think Bryan Danielson is giving us wrestling matches that he's always wanted to give us on the highest possible platform. And yes, when he was in WWE, he definitely, there's like the smell of marijuana all over the fucking place here, by the way. I'm in a parking lot of a hotel in Fayetteville, North Carolina in my travels, and I can just smell the marijuana permeating Fayetteville. But basically, just distracting to me. I don't know if Rob Van Dam just got off the set of Monty and the Pharaoh and came down to Fayetteville, but I just smell pot. It always, you know what, marijuana is like the perfume of white trash, if you really think about it. But anyway, let's move on. Daniel Bryan wrestling, it's the perfect combination of this guy has all this ring experience. He's bringing these matches. I just watched the Eddie Kingston match from Rampage. I mean, even CM Punk and Bobby Fish, by the way, had a great match on Dynamite. It's really a pleasure to watch some of these wrestling matches. And I don't know if you, even if you're the hardcore WWE fan like Monty and the Pharaoh profess to be, if you're Mike Monty or someone of that ilk that just loves WWE and always defending it, how can you tell me that the CM Punk versus Bobby Fish match on Dynamite this past week wasn't a great match? How can you tell me that the lead-in and then the tournament semifinal between Bryan Danielson and Eddie Kingston wasn't a great match? Now, does that mean that, I mean, to me, I'll take those great matches and I'll suffer through the Stay Puft Marshmallow thing with Hangman Adam Page. I feel that it's worth it. I feel that I can sit through a gimmick 8-man match for the payoff of Hangman Page as a Marshmallow guy. I can sit through that if I'm going to see Bobby Fish versus CM Punk. I mean, and I think that what AEW has been very good at is they're taking some of these mid-card guys, these jabroni guys, like a Bobby Fish, who was kind of an afterthought. He was in the fucking whatever the fuck, the Undisputed Era, I believe. They're taking this guy, and he's not winning matches, he's not winning titles, but I mean, I would say that Bobby Fish is having a career resurgence as a singles wrestler. He's having some of the best matches of his life in losing efforts. I do want to say this, and I'm not trying to make fun of people, because look, we all have our physical deformities or our challenges, but even with CM Punk and Bobby Fish, you kind of see like the wrestler hunch. And I just know this because I've hung out with wrestlers enough, like even Matt Hardy. I was noticing that with Matt a few months ago, the wrestler hunch. And like I said, these guys are taking flat back bumps. They're going through tables. My buddy Ox Baker, great guy, he had the wrestler hunch, and Hogan's got it. But some of these guys are like in their 40s and they're getting it. Like if you look at CM Punk, he's got that hunch is coming in. They need to do the DDP yoga or something. But Bobby Fish, he's got a fucking hunch on his back. And but you look at Daniel Bryan, and he looks pretty good. I mean, I think Daniel Bryan, you can make a case that he's never looked better. He's never wrestled better. A lot of activity going on here in Fayetteville this morning. So anyway, folks, I'm trying to think if there's other things. Britt Baker, Dr. Britt Baker defending her title, or I guess it was a non-title match against Abandon. Interesting setup. It's Halloween, so it's kind of tough for a gimmick wrestler character like that, Abandon or Abandon or whatever the fuck. For her on Halloween, she's like, it's Halloween every day of the year for her. I gotta say, Britt Baker looked pretty fucking hot with like that little, touch of zombie on her eye. That was pretty sexy. Reba or Rebel, Rebel, if you ever saw her in Impact Wrestling about 10 or 15 years ago, she was one of the hottest women in the world. She's still hot. Look, I guess I'm just going a male chauvinistic pig here moment, but sorry. I actually met Rebel. I did commentary for an independent wrestling show in Florida last summer. I don't know why they haven't released the videos yet, but it was a fun show. And Rebel was actually there. The Pope was running this thing, some nice people. I believe JB Smooth, if I got his name right, nice guy, was the promoter that got me involved. I did commentary, and Rebel won the women's title that night. Rebel in person is very attractive, let me tell you, but you put her next to Dr. Britt, and it's tough, because, I mean, Dr. Britt is 10 or 15 years younger, or whatever the fuck. That's the tough thing about, womenhood is, I just got to take a sip of water. You can be a very hot, attractive woman, but if you are next to another hot, attractive woman, you're burying yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you see these pictures with Lana, Miro's wife, Lana with, or whatever, CJ Perry. Okay, hashtag. You see Lana with fucking Liv Morgan, and it's like, fuck. Like, Liv Morgan looks so great, and Lana, not so much. And it's like, if you just saw Lana by herself, she would look great. I'm just being honest, is it rude? Is it crass to say that? Probably, but it's just honest. Attractive women in their 30s should stay the fuck away from attractive women in their 20s, because you're not doing yourself any favors, attractive women in your 30s. But I'm telling you, Rebel is really attractive. Rebel is very pretty. Her thing with Shivani is kind of creepy. I really don't know what's going on with there. Shivani, I don't like when Shivani does the DDS thing. That annoys me. I don't think as a commentator, Shivani should be showing favoritism, especially not to a heel. It's just weird, like the Shivani. I would like to see, I'm not a big Hangman Adam Page fan either, but I would like to see him super kick Shivani in the face. I mean, that would be pretty easy. That's not a hard move to sell. And I think that would be a good payoff for all the creepiness. There's somebody with like 2 pit bulls over there. I wouldn't mind saying hi to the Pitbulls, just because, like not Gary Wolf and Anthony Durante. Having an interesting conversation with a friend of mine the other day. I guess I'll give him a shout out. My buddy Chris from Connecticut, big wrestling guy, and he was telling me that he's friends with Gary Wolf of the Pitbulls, and he was saying that the Pitbulls started, I'm talking about the old ECW Pitbulls, Pitbull 1 and 2, Gary Wolf. They had the whole feud with Shane Douglas, and Anthony Durante, unfortunately, if I got his name right, passed away in 2002, pretty close to me. Westerly, Rhode Island is where he lived at the time, which I used to live there, and he was working at Mohegan Sun, which is a casino I used to go to all the time, for SmackDowns and for mixed martial arts fights and all types of fun stuff. But basically the point is, the Pitbulls, their first match was in 1989 in the WWF in a losing effort as more or less job guys to the Hart Foundation. Look it up. I didn't realize that, and I was shocked that I believe it said Anthony Durante's first match as a pro wrestler was tag teaming with Gary Wolf. I don't know if they were guys that were put together or they knew each other going into wrestling. 1989 against the Hart Foundation. So I'm kind of curious if I can find that match. If you can find it, please put it in the comments. Not sure I just got on that tangent, folks, but I was just thinking about I was thinking about Florida wrestling. My friend Gary Wolf apparently is in Florida, the old Pitbull. There's some other things that are happening in Florida wrestling that I'll keep you informed about. Monty and the Pharaoh. Unfortunately, I was hoping to stop by Long Island and meet the guys in person, but unfortunately, my travel schedule, I was acting in major motion pictures. I had a little scene in a Megan Fox film. I'll tell you more about that. Fight scene, of course. And wonderful things that I've been accomplishing. I've been uploading new videos to my own subscribe to Mike Messier YouTube channel. Suicide Girls, if you're familiar with them, my interviews with the Suicide Girls, some of the classic interviews, and also a wrestling project, a 4-hour series, a 4-hour mini-series will soon be on my channel. So I think all of the wrestling fans will be very intrigued. A very unique project, 4-hour mini-series with a major pro wrestler that you all know is involved. Whether he likes it or not, I guess, but he's in it. And there you have it, folks. Any other thoughts? I guess I want to go back to that Dr. Britt Baker match. The thumbtacks were very interesting in that match. I think there's something kinky about Dr. Britt Baker, to be honest with you. Like, something about her. She likes being in these bloody matches. She likes being a hardcore wrestling chick. It's very interesting. She's, very pretty, I think, in a traditional sense. Like, she's kind of pretty, but she's not like Playboy pretty. She's like cheerleader pretty, if there's a difference there. Like, she's not the type of girl like Kelly or fucking Tori Wilson. We're all in Playboy. And it's like, you don't even want to see Dr. Britt in that. But she's kind of kinky. Like, when she does these hardcore bloody matches, you kind of get the feeling there's something going on there with her. That she's into some hardcore shit. So who knows? But I mean, I think she's a great talent. So when people say that AEW hasn't made any talents and they're just surviving on WWE talents, I can't agree with that. I mean, yes, Dr. Britt Baker had like one fucking match in NXT where she got jobbed out to Nia Jax, but look, that just proves that WWE missed out on her, not the other fucking way around. I mean, I hate to tell you folks, it's, you know, exhibition performances, so she's a bigger star in my book than Nia Jax, or has, you know, I don't know. As far as name recognition, if you went around the world and said, well, who's more, you know, name recognition, I really don't know. But as far as like, who do people enjoy watching more wrestle? Fucking Dr. Britt every day of the goddamn week over Nia Jax. So, you know, a few months ago, several months ago, WWE put out a fucking tweet. It was like Nia Jax's birthday, and they show her leg dropping Dr. Britt Baker when she beat her in the squash match. And it was the night before the pay-per-view where I guess it was All Out this past year, 2020, when Dr. Britt Baker won the women's title, if I have that right. And they were basically just, WWE was taking a little shot at Dr. Britt because they knew that she was most likely going to win this women's title, which she did, and they wanted to demean her, which is typical of WWE. I was looking at Twitter today, and Mike Bennett had something where he's looking for bookings, and he had a photograph of himself, and it wasn't a great photo of Mike Bennett. He's sitting in the corner. Look, folks, I guess I'll break kayfabe or whatever the fuck. I'm actually friendly with Mike Bennett and Maria Kanellis. You can see Mike Bennett and I working as, acting as brothers in a movie that I more or less wrote most of the script, or a good portion, or whatever the fuck. But the Manor, Anders Manor, you can see me and Mike Bennett and Sully Erna from Godsmack, the lead singer of Godsmack, playing the brothers Baton, the Baton brothers, Darsaw, Ole, and Brett Darsaw, characters that I named, of course. And, but if you watch that fucking film, you see that Mike Bennett's a very talented guy, and it hasn't clicked with him in wrestling. I'm talking about Mike Bennett. Could he find himself in AEW? ROH, I don't know if Mike was under contract to ROH just now or what. Of course, they've been, everyone's been released from ROH. I did a whole video interactive yesterday on my Subscribe to Mike Messier YouTube channel about Ring of Honor going out of business or whatever. And, the point is, I'm looking at Mike Bennett's Twitter thing, and he's getting assaulted by the wrestling fans. They're all putting him down. They're saying, "Hey, you said that Vince McMahon ruined more lives than he saved, yet he sent you to drug rehab," and all these things. These fans are coming hard on Mike Bennett. And then somebody said something like, "Oh yeah, Mike Bennett, he's the bad guy because." Wasn't it Vince McMahon who was there with Owen and Jimmy Snuka's murder case and this everything? Basically, this one Twitter responder turned it all around and said, if you look at the life history of a guy like Mike Bennett versus Vince McMahon, you tell me who's done more evil, and it's pretty apparent that the answer is Junior. You know what I mean? So here it is, folks. A lot of people are always going to be defending Junior, defending the WWE. And other people, more enlightened people, more intelligent people, are going to be open-minded and accept change and accept new things, like myself. You know what I mean? So you can be a dinosaur, folks, but dinosaurs go extinct. What else can I talk about with this AEW Apologist Report? They're having these tournaments, as we discussed. It was interesting. The big guy, Lance Archer, got his neck jammed up in that opening match against Kingston. It looked like they called the match on the fly. I'm not sure if Archer was actually supposed to win the match or not, but they had Eddie get a roll-up win. Tag teams, I'm trying to think what's going on. I guess they're getting ready for the FTR against the Lucha Brothers, who kind of are my favorite tag team, to be honest with you. The Lucha Brothers and FTR. It's two of my favorite teams, so I will be watching that pay-per-view on November 13th. I think they've actually wrestled before, and their matches haven't been great, to be honest with you. I think they wrestled at least once on Dynamite, FTR versus the Lucha Brothers, if I'm remembering correctly, and I don't think it was a great match. So, I mean, I hate to, say this, but hopefully they get behind the scenes, they work out some dynamics, and they have a better match. You know what I mean? Because the chemistry between FTR and the fucking Lucha Brothers, if I'm remembering to some Dynamite that I think they wrestled on maybe 6 months or a year ago, it wasn't that good. So I'm hoping that this pay-per-view match, they up their game with each other. What else? I did a whole fucking thing yesterday on my interactive thing, which you can find easily enough, once again, on my YouTube channel. Subscribe to Mike Messier YouTube channel on Khan v. Bischoff. I'm on Team Bischoff on this one. Hey, look, I'm not going to kiss Tony Khan's ass because I'm not on the payroll. You know what I mean? That's one thing you got to remember about these wrestlers, folks. You talk about this Saudi Arabia Super Show a few weeks ago, the Crown Jewel. I can't go here and say, oh, all the good wrestlers are in AEW and all the bad wrestlers in WWE. I'm not saying that, because I damn well know that if the money was there, Chris Jericho did wrestle in Saudi Arabia. Bryan Danielson did wrestle in Saudi Arabia. None of these guys stood up and said, hey, we can't go there because they throw homosexuals off of roofs and kills them. Jim Ross appeared in Saudi Arabia, so the wrestlers, their morality and their decisions are based on money, and I just think that most wrestling fans don't want to admit that, whether it's Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, John Cena. Why did CM Punk come back to wrestle? Well, it's because he wasn't successful in UFC and because he probably needed some money. He'd been away from the action, CM Punk, for probably 7 years and had a couple of UFC matches, and he probably got $100,000 or $150,000 each, which is great money for normal people like you and me. But CM Punk has to feed his belly and feed his ego and feed his young, pretty wife and all that stuff, and so now he's back. Tessa Blanchard, by the way, this Women of Wrestling thing, I guess there's some type of scandal with that. She's back with a job. I'm not a big Tessa Blanchard fan. I think she's a great talent. She's very athletic, kind of pretty in like a tough girl way, which is fine, short. But the fact that she's out there pinning and destroying Brian Cage and this the guy that I hate, Sami Callihan, who uses a baseball bat in people's eye socket, I'm not a fan. And the rumors of her being less than polite with other women wrestlers and being derogatory and so forth. I'm not sold on Tessa Blanchard. I hate to say it, and now they're trying to sell these nuclear heat t-shirts. It's not interesting to me. I guess I'm going to go here, folks. I didn't think I would, but you get to a point in life, like for instance, last night I'm in this fucking hotel. I'm in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I'm traveling. I'm a very busy individual, and I'm trying to catch up on AEW Dynamite, basically, so I can do this rant for you, okay, and be informed of what the hell's going on in pro wrestling, especially AEW. And I'm merely concentrating on AEW, and one of my social media followers, one of my YouTube subscribers, subscribe to Mike Messier YouTube channel subscribers, sends me a private message, and he says, Mike, WWE just screwed up again. And I said, I'm busy doing other things, but what is it? And he tells me that they turned Shotzi Blackheart heel. And I just don't know what to say, because A, I haven't even been watching SmackDown close enough to know that Shotzi Blackheart was on the fucking main roster. And B, she's terrible. Last time I checked, Shotzi Blackheart with the green hair, and she kind of looks Polynesian or whatever the fuck. She's terribly over. She comes out in the little tank, and she wears green and black, and everybody loves Shotzi, and yay, Shotzi. And I went to a fucking NXT show on February 29th, 2020. Really one of the last pro wrestling shows in normal era of life. And Shotzi was there, and she and that fucking Rick Bowes guy, the guitar guy with Nakamura now, they were the people that stood out to me. You know what I mean? And I really thought, and Matt Riddle was there, the fucking finger guy, the Pete Dunne guy was there. They were defending the NXT tag team titles against Imperium. But the two people that stood out for me were Shotzi Blackheart and Rick Bowes. And now there's my friend, my buddy there is all concerned because Shotzi Blackheart has turned heel. And to me, what am I supposed to do about it? Am I supposed to sing a song? Oh my God, Shotzi Blackheart has turned heel. Am I supposed to get upset? You know what I mean? Like, what am I supposed to do about it? You know what I mean? Look, we know this. The WWE hires writers that don't watch wrestling, that don't have experience in watching wrestling. So they kind of you can tell just by the way they do things, that these writers come in and they're just throwing shit at the wall because they're watching old stuff from wrestling, and they just do stupid things, and they break up things like the Hurt Business too soon. It's still funny to me that that writer that, did the podcast, that lady writer, a year ago, who revealed that she knew nothing about wrestling before the WWE hired her. The one thing she said was that Bobby Lashley was in the Hurt Business and that they broke him up. And she seemed to be like, I'm not sure why they broke up the Hurt Business, but she was right. Why did they break up the Hurt Business? Well, assholes and idiots, now we see that they're patching the Hurt Business back together. I mean, they've got, what's his name, Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin are backing up Bobby Lashley in the Saudi Arabia match with fucking Goldberg. So you're saying, I mean, isn't that the WWE just admitting that they erred, that they made a mistake? I mean, was there some dramatic storyline that took those two guys out of the Hurt Business and put them back in? Or did they just realize, oh yeah, we fucked up, we should have never broken up the Hurt Business? It's even when WWE does something good, they fuck it up. And that's why Tony Khan recently said something like the WWE always disappoints their fans after every pay-per-view, and he's pretty accurate. So when this buddy of mine tells me that Shotzi Blackheart has turned heel, my basic thing is, I'm just glad I'm not watching. I'm glad I'm not wasting my goddamn time on a Friday night watching this piece of shit WWE SmackDown. I'm watching the World Series, and when that's over, which I did, I watched the AEW Dynamite, and then I woke up this morning on a Saturday, and I watched Rampage to catch up to all these things, okay? But the point is, I'm not going to waste my fucking 2 hours watching goddamn SmackDown just so I can be upset and disappointed that Shotzi Blackheart has turned heel, because it means nothing to me at this point. Okay, there you fucking have it, folks. So I think I've done a very good job here. Week number goddamn 7. I was going to do all these things, but you know what? We did it. We banged it out. It's all wonderful. I'm going now to south of the border in South Carolina. I'm going to get myself a fucking tamale and a goddamn bumper sticker. I'm going to leave this fucking parking lot with this goddamn marijuana. Like I said, the smell of white trash is marijuana. And just horrible. I just don't know. I don't understand people that they need drugs and they need other things to put in their fucking nose or their mouth to get by in life. I'm a person who drinks fucking water, okay? So I'm just a clean and healthy individual. Subscribe to Mike Messier YouTube channel. Thanks to Monty and the Pharaoh. Sorry I missed you in Long Island, gentlemen, but we'll see each other again this future. Subscribe to Mike Messier YouTube channel, Monty and the Pharaoh YouTube channel, and Long Island's #1 wrestling podcast, or wrestling broadcast, I should say.